Hey guys, we are live. I'm Doug here with eBay Addicts, and today I got you guys a brand new guest. I have Chris is here with me today. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
All right. So we're going to be talking all about the phone flipping business. So real briefly, kind of introduce yourself to our audience, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and tell them a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Schroeder, phone flipper, marketer. Been doing stuff like that for quite a few years. Been started flipping phones quite a few years ago. Turned it into a full-time gig. Left my job, and kind of just been doing it ever since. Started a marketing agency, and now we also help people kind of get into the industry and scale their business faster than ever. So that's where we are now. We built a pretty big company helping people scale their business, and then we also buy from them now too. So kind of gone from buying directly from consumers, and now we're buying directly from resellers a lot too. So yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. So tell people briefly, kind of what was your full time job before you became a full time reseller, and kind of what got you started into this business of buying, flipping cell phones and electronics.
Yeah, so my gig was I was a server at a restaurant, basically serving fondues and fried catfish, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I was doing for quite a few years, probably about 4 years. I ran across an ad one day. A lot of people probably know him. His name was David Kosciuszko, and he was kind of that's where I learned about this industry. I had tried a couple other things beforehand, like Amway, MLMs, and a couple other things like that, um, and they didn't really work out for me. But the phone flipping thing actually just made sense, um, and I was like, I can buy and resell stuff. That doesn't sound that hard. I did a little bit of that in high school and stuff like that, but it wasn't electronics. So I was like, give it a shot. And lo and behold, it worked, and I made really good money doing it. So like my average the average that I would make at the restaurant was, probably $80 to $100 per shift. But whenever I flipped my first phone, I made like I think it was $80 in total in net profit, and that was kind of the light switch. That was like, oh wow, this can be a real thing. And it took incredibly less time. Like I bought the phone, put it on eBay, flipped it, made it like $80 in profit. And now I have to back up a little bit. I did fail on my very first two phones, but the first time it worked, I made a good amount of profit. So, um, but yeah, that's kind of where I started. That was my
Yeah,
job.
I'm with you on that. When you go to work and you work an 8 or 10 hour shift, and then you kind of find out like, hey, I could buy an item, flip it and resell it on eBay or Macari or what you do to be able to buy phones and flip them and resell them to a private buyer and make the same amount of money you would have made going and working an 8 hour shift and maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes out of your day where you meet up with someone, you find an item and then flipping and reselling it. That goes by kind of like a light bulb goes off in your head. So
Yeah,
how long have you been a reseller now?
going on 8 years, I guess, 8 or 9 years, something like
Yeah.
that.
Right. Now we're gonna kind of talk briefly. The title of our video is talking about how you make anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month
Yep.
flipping cell phones as a reseller. So we talked briefly a little bit about your backstory. Kind of give us a brief overview of someone maybe they bought and sold stuff on eBay before in the past. Maybe they went to a Goodwill or a thrift store or a yard sale and they bought a video game or something laying around for $1 and they sold them on eBay for 20 bucks. Kind of tell us a brief overview of how this whole process works of buying and flipping phones.
Yeah, so there's three main ways that we source devices. The first one is with Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or any of those like platforms, right, where people are actively going on there and listing their devices to sell them themselves, right? So the first way is we reach out to those people and we ask like, hey, are you willing to take a lower price? And we have a whole script and everything for that. But the second way is Facebook ads, and that's where I really fine tuned my process was with Facebook ads. And the reason I liked Facebook ads was because it targeted those people that were too lazy to list things online themselves, right? I call it interruption marketing, meaning like it shows up on their newsfeed on their phone or their computer or something, and it literally says cash for phones or cash for cameras, cash for whatever, right? And people would, it was inbound leads, right? Meaning people message me and I'm not having to message them, right? So it gave
Right.
me a little more power in terms of the negotiation because they were reaching out to me. It was also because a lot of these people were too lazy to list it themselves, and that was great for me. And then we have Google Ads, and Google Ads is probably our most recent uh, way of advertising. And basically, with Google Ads, we're targeting the Eco ATM machine that you guys have probably seen in the malls and stuff like that. And we're targeting the people that are literally typing into Google, "sell my phone near me" or "sell my phone today," right? And those leads are just hot. They're ready to sell. Um, so those are the three ways that we acquire people to talk to, and how we start enough conversations. I tell my students they need to be starting anywhere between 30 to 50 conversations a day to make $300 to $500 a day. So if they can do that, then it's hard to lose.
Yeah, well, what I like about your business model is it's kind of hard to lose money because before you actually make an offer to buy or flip a phone, like if I called you up and I said, hey, I have this Samsung Galaxy 9 or whatever, and I want to be able to sell it, you already have all the information in front of you. So you're kind of sit down and you have kind of a paperwork in front of you and you're saying, okay, I can already have an appraisal of what this item can sell for on eBay or Mercari. So I already know what I can buy and flip this phone for. So it's kind of like you already have profit kind of built in when the
Yes.
customer contacts you. And so let's just say hypothetically, you know that you could sell this. Let's say you could sell this for $100, and I call you up and say, hey man, my rent is due next week of the first of the month. My car is in the shop or whatever. I have to pay my car payment next week. I just have this extra phone, or maybe I just upgraded and got a new phone and have this extra one laying around. The battery doesn't hold a charge. The screen is cracked. I just want to get rid of it. I saw your ad on Facebook Marketplace. What can you give me for this phone? I just want to get rid of it. And then you might hit them up and say, hey, I noticed your phone that you wanted to sell. I can offer you 30, $40 for it. And then maybe I agree to sell it to you for $30, and you can turn around and resell it on eBay for 100, and then you make the spread, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to put it. I mean, I don't usually aim for the $20 to $30 offers. Like I'll still make them, but like the ones that I like to aim for are probably because let's be real, who's going to take $20 to $30, right? Will it happen? Yes. Does it happen often? No. So I like to aim for the 200 plus range devices. Like let's say the iPhone 12 and 13 right now, at least in this market. You can offer $100 for, or $80 to $100 for an iPhone 12 and sell it for 200, 220, right? That's really where the meat is. And then you can go up on that too. It's like 13 Pro Max, still selling for roughly $360, $340. You can offer $250 for it, right? So
Yeah.
my goal is to make roughly $80 in profit per device that I buy. Now I know this before I ever buy the device, right? So, and the crazy thing is, guys, like everybody listening, I tell my customers that all the time. Like, hey, to keep my business running, I need to make about $80 per device. And believe it or not, they're totally cool with that. At least, if I'm cool with it, like.
Right. So we're gonna go briefly over this whole thing. So you post ads. Maybe you might post ads on OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, maybe on Craigslist. You'll post ads online.
That's it.
You don't use Craigslist,
No.
but you post an ad online and it'll say, hey, I buy phones, cracked phones or used phones. The customer will call you up and say, hey, I'm interested. I have this extra phone laying around my house. I need to get rid of it. But my question to you is, why would they want to go sell the phone to you as opposed to going to a place in Walmart where they can drop it into a machine or taking it to a pawn shop or something to sell it there versus you coming to meet up with them and them you paying them cash for their device?
So the benefit to selling to people like me is we can typically pay more than those places can. Like pawn shops, they on phones specifically, most of the time they lowball the absolute crap out of people. Same thing with the Eco ATM. The Eco ATM, I think they're offering like $30 for iPhone 11 right now. Like I can still buy iPhone 11 for like $60 and flip it for 120, 150.
Right.
Like,
So
the benefit we pay more.
So you give them more money, but so it's the same process. So you place ad, customer will reach out to you and say, hey, I want to sell my device. you ask them questions. Hey, what kind of device do you have? What kind of condition is it in? You kind of do a rough appraisal of the device. Then you make an offer of the device, and I guess you meet up with the person. Do you meet up with the person like at a gas station or a grocery store, or where do you meet up with this person at typically?
Yeah, so I usually meet up with them at a Starbucks, and usually people come to me. I have the money, so I kind of have the power here, right? Um, and this is what I tell my students all the time because a lot of people think that we just drive all around everybody. I don't. I don't drive to anybody at all. I have the money. Come get it, you know. And I know that sounds a little aggressive, but like, does a pawn shop drive to you? Does Eco ATM drive to you? They don't. So why should I be any different, right? So what I'll do is I have two specific meetups typically. I'll meet people at 12 and 5 every day, and I'll let people know that. I'll be like, hey, I'll be at this Starbucks at 12 and 5 today. Which time works best for you? And they'll pick a time. And if it's out of that time frame, I'll let them know where I'm going to be. Like I usually go to the gym at night, right? So 6 or 8 p.m. And I'll be like, hey, I'll be at the gym at this time if you want to just stop by and sell it, right? But they all come to me and I meet at a safe location that has Wi-Fi, and I always meet inside. Always meet inside.
Okay,
Never
I'm with
meet
you.
in the
So,
parking lot.
so typically, you try to make at least $80 or $100 profit on every time you get one of these devices. The person contacts you, you meet up with them, you give them the cash, you give them like a receipt book or something like that, or explain a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, I usually require a bill of sale depending on what item it is. If it has a serial number or an IMEI number anyway, like an iPhone, Samsung, iPad, or a MacBook, I'll typically require a bill of sale for that. Simply to safety for myself, right? And records that the person who was selling it to me, it was their property, right? And that's how that works. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you check the device out and make sure it's not like that it's not lost or stolen. You'll make sure that the device is in working condition and all that. You want to make sure that it's not the phone isn't financed. And then once you check it out, then you give the person the cash for the device. You write them a receipt. And what's the typical current turnaround time between the time you buy the device for when you're able to resell it and get your money back out of that device?
So it depends which device it is, but if it's like a newer device, I can have it sold the same day.
Really? Okay, that's awesome. Now I
Yeah.
want to know because I've been watching you for years. I know sometimes I'm giving you kind of like softball questions because I want this to pertain to a brand new person that's never heard about this before. But typically, in an average month, how much money do you make personally flipping phones for your business with your resale business in a month, like profit after your expenses and all that?
So just to be fully transparent, we've shifted to more of software and direct buying. But when it's just me buying, it's usually 7 to 8K profit a month. And I will say that is incredibly part time, like very part time, because I run two software companies now for this industry. So I basically just took my skill sets and turned them into softwares. And then we also have hundreds of students that we're helping out as well. So we have transitioned more to buying from our students at this point. And we're doing, I think it's about 40,000 in sales a month right now, with about it's like 40 to 50,000 in sales right now, just on the direct buying side, and that's only going up every month. So probably by the end of the year, we'll be close to about 100K in sales a month with about a 10% profit margin on that. So we're moving up.
Right. So, but if I was an individual, let's say I have a full-time job and I'm working in a restaurant or a grocery store or a gas station, or let's say I
Yeah.
have a full-time job and I'm working in a warehouse, but let's say I have a full-time job. Let's say I work for Amazon. Let's say
Yeah.
I deliver packages for Amazon. And that's my full-time job, and I work a 10-hour shift, and I do that 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. How plausible is it for me to start up a business where I can make anywhere between an extra 5 to 10 grand a month part time while still working a full time job, and I'm being able to buy and flip phones on the side? Is this a real thing that
Yeah.
anybody can do?
Yeah, no, it's very realistic. We have one student who is a delivery driver, and he's making. We actually interviewed him a month ago, I think. He's making about $7,000 in profit a month outside of his job, outside of his full time job. At that, like he gets off at 5 every day, and he buys phones, and he's making $7,000 in profit outside of his full time job. So
Okay. Now,
uh,
this is
if
the
you guys
question
want,
that this is the question I need to ask you. How much money, how much capital do I need to get started in this business? If I came to you and I'm a newbie person, maybe I bought and resold some stuff that was at a yard sale, or I went to a thrift store or whatever. Maybe I've, sold a couple of items on eBay before, but as far as buying and flipping phones, how much money do I need to get started into this business? What would you recommend?
So I started with about $200. So that's what I'm going to say. You can start this business with about $200, and ideally, what you want to do is you want to take the money you have, buy a device, flip the device as quick as possible, get the money back, reinvest it into buying more devices, and ideally, what I'd recommend is set that money aside for flipping only. Like, don't use it to pay your bills, okay? Because I've seen so many resellers do that, and it literally burns their business to the ground. Like, and they have to they go through this cycle of starting and stopping again, right? So you can start with, I'd say, recommended 200 to 500. Know that you're going to make mistakes. Like, I want to be very transparent about that. You're going to make mistakes. It's not going to happen, right? So 200 to 500, dude. That's what I'd recommend starting off with.
Okay. So if you have $500 or $1,000 and you have a full-time job, this is something that you could do. And so let's talk a little bit more about this scenario. Let's say I have a full-time job. Let's just use the delivery driver for an example.
Yep.
How would a person that has a full-time job, and let's say they have $500 or $1,000 get started flipping phones, how do they go about growing their business from zero to get to the point where they're making an extra 5 to 10 grand a month of income, and they could still keep their full-time job as well? So let's talk a bit more about how you would go about doing that, because I know you coach people 101, and this is kind of your area of expertise, kind of what you're mainly focused on, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking to take it from 200 to a business that's doing $5,000 to $10,000 in profit a month, then what I'd recommend doing is once again, one device at a time, especially in the beginning, especially if you have no experience, right? I wouldn't say if you have $500, go right out of the gate and buy a 14 Pro Max. Not recommended, okay? I'd say start with the iPhone 11, 12s, and 13s, and I would flip those because you can make it almost like a guaranteed $60 to $100 in profit almost every time you flip that, right? And the great thing about those devices, let's just say iPhone 12, you can buy those for $80 to $100 each time, right? You can just start with those devices and slowly just move yourself up and gradually just grab more buying power with every flip, right? So let's say you started off with one device. Let's say it's iPhone 12, right? You buy it, you flip it. Now you got $200 to work with, or $300 to work with. Sorry, if we're starting at 200. Then you go and you buy, let's say, 2 more iPhone 12s. You flip those for another, let's say you make 160. Now you're working with like $460, and I would just gradually go up that way, right? Until you can buy the 14 Pro Max, the 15 Pro Maxes, which typically you can make a little bit more profit on, $100, $120 a lot of times. Then I would just slowly just keep growing it. And then once you have more buying power, like you get over $1,000, you can buy 2, 3 to 5 phones at a time and then flip them, and make a good $600, $700 in profit, the same day. And
so it sounds like the key to this business is just to take your capital and just keep reinvesting it month after month after month until you have more capital set aside to make larger investments to be able to buy and flipping more phones. So it's kind of like you may start out with, like you said, with $200 or $500, and then you're just going to keep reinvesting your capital month after month after month. So you have a big enough cash flow where you can generate more money. Because obviously, if you want to make more money, you have to have more capital to invest to buy more merchandise to flip and resell, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's where most people mess up. Like they use their money that they are using to buy stuff, and they'll end up paying bills with it, and like they'll never actually let it build, right? Because once you let it builds fast. Like, because number one, you're gaining skills in 2 ways. Like, you're gaining 2 things. You're gaining income by just keeping it circulating, right? But you're also gaining experience at the same time by flipping everything, right? So you're gonna run into those. I always tell people the first $1,000 is always the hardest. It's always the hardest. That $1,000 profit, that's freaking Mount Everest for most people in the beginning. So, like, once you get past that point, you understand, I would say 80% of this business from there, right? And that's why, like, in our coaching program, we only work with people that are doing $1,000 or more per month. That's just how it works, because we need people past that first $1,000 in profit. Otherwise, they're not ready to work with us, because we are very aggressive on what we do. Because we're going to slam people into 30 to 50 conversations a day, and if they're not ready, then they're not ready. So.
Well, I'm with you. It's kind of the same thing when I talk to people about buying stuff at a thrift store and selling on eBay, and then I'll talk to them, and a couple months later they'll take their capital and go on a vacation somewhere, and I'm just like, bro, the capital you're supposed to have set aside to buy inventory that you just spent to go on a vacation to Disney World. And you know how people are. They're like, well, you only live once. So I want to try to switch this conversation real briefly. Talk about what was your top 3 tips or piece of advice to help someone who's a new person that wants to get started in the phone flipping business. I know that you buy and flip and resell, smartwatches and tablets and video game systems and things like that. But for a new person, tell me your top 3 tips or piece of advice that you have to help a new person get started. Maybe they're kind of on the fence. They have some capital to get started, but they're kind of hesitant because it's outside of the realm of a 9-to-5 job of a boss giving you a paycheck. So let's talk about that briefly.
My first tip would be start flipping with what you know. So, for example, if you don't know, like, I didn't know what an iPhone was in the beginning. I had never flipped an iPhone. I had never even used an iPhone before I started my business. I knew Samsungs, though, and I knew LG phones, and I knew those phones. But like my very first flip, I screwed up because I didn't know how to operate an iPhone. I bought 2 iCloud locked phones. I didn't know what I was doing. So my very first recommendation here would be start with what you know. So if you know game consoles or Oculus Quest or VR, start with those. We have many students that start there because they're much more comfortable with those types of items than they are with phones, and they still crush it. We just interviewed another student who did $16,000 in profit in 4 months, mostly with cameras and game consoles. I think she did maybe $3,000 or $4,000 worth with phones. So start with what you know. That would be my first thing. Number 2, don't use the money. Okay, it depends on the goal here. So if your goal is just to make money outside of your job, cool, like blow it. But if you're looking to turn this thing into a business that you want to leave your job with, then just keep recycling the money that you're flipping. Do not touch it until you got like 20K. Because I see people all the time, Chris, I made my first $5,000 profit a month. I'm ready to go full time. And I'm like, how much do you got saved? 5K. You're not ready. I made that mistake. And it was very difficult to get out of that. So that would be step 2, is let the money just keep recycling and building up if you plan on going full time. If you're just doing this as a hobby, cool, go to Disneyland. I don't care, And then step 3 would be what I did. Pay for people that are smarter than you. And I know you're probably going to get some hate on that, but guys, that's how I grew. Is I bought literally every phone flipping course there was. So, because think about it, if you buy all of them, then you know everything. Because some people gatekeep stuff and watch a lot of YouTube videos from a lot of different people, and that's my recommendation. It's like I pay for shortcuts. Like I'd rather somebody just teach me how to do it instead of me just spending hours on YouTube trying to piece bits and pieces together. So that's my recommendation. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other little tips or tricks, advice as far as negotiating goes? Anything else that you could kind of give our audience to kind of help them out?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there that whenever they say negotiating, one of the biggest ones out there right now is pretend that you are somebody who needs a phone, right? So that in a way is deceptive because you don't need a phone, right? Like there's one common phrase a lot of people use, like, "Hey, I only have $200 right now. Is that okay?" That's incredibly deceptive. Like the way that I like to do things is let's say I'm doing reach outs on Facebook Marketplace. I'll be like, hey, I run a business that buys used and damaged iPhones, MacBooks, smartwatches, cameras, and other items like this. If I were to pay cash today, would you be willing to go lower on price? I am very direct in who I am, and you can't get mad at that, right? Like, I'm a business, this is what I do, and that's just how it works, right? I'm very honest with people that I work with, and that would be one of my biggest recommendations is like, just tell people what you do. Stop trying to hide it. Like a lot of resellers out there, they get this like weird, I don't even know what they call it. Like, I don't know. They get weird about being honest with people, you know? Like, look, everybody already knows you're a reseller, so who cares?
Well, it's just a stigmatism because people are always saying stuff in the comments like, get a real job, and you're taking advantage of poor people, and shame on you being a reseller. And I'm like, bro, there's no one out there picketing Walmart, Target, Amazon.
Yeah. They're doing the same thing.
So they're all resellers. No one's out there picketing or saying they're scamming people or taking advantage of poor people. That's how this whole system works. Or pawn shops. They do the same thing. They buy stuff at lower prices and resell it at a higher price, but no one protesting, John's pawn shop down the street. So it's just the mindset thing. I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
So hey, I know you do one-on-one coaching. If people need help, tell people how much do you normally charge people for your coaching and mentorship program.
So, well, number one, we only accept people that are currently doing $1,000 a month in profit or more. And then current coaching for 6 months is 5K with me and my entire team. So more than everybody else. That's because our stuff works. So yeah, it's 5K to work directly with us.
Okay, but you have plenty of resources that are free on your YouTube channel, and also you have an ebook that's like $5. I have it listed down below. Tell everybody where they can find you at on YouTube and Instagram if they want to come by and check you out. They will learn more about your phone flipping business and course. Tell them where they can find you at.
Yeah, so best place is YouTube. I put all my stuff on there. I don't gatekeep anything. I give away pretty much everything. The only thing you pay for with our mentorship program is more or less implementation. Like we just hold you accountable to what you say that you're going to do, and then we just kind of boost that up with our softwares and systems that we have built up. But yeah, we also do have the ebook. The ebook is $5, $4.95. You can check that out on my YouTube channel as well. And then you can also follow me on Facebook. We also have a Facebook group that has 15,000 people in it. So if you want to join a like-minded community, feel free to join our Facebook group. It's Nothing Held Back Phone Flipping. So you guys can check that out too. It's free. You can get in for free. Most of my resources are free. So yeah.
Yeah, I've listened to Chris for, I don't know, a couple of years. I've watched you in the background, or I'll be out running around errands, and I'll have you playing in the background. So this isn't like a fly-by-night business where he's just done this for 6 months and he's going to be on doing something else. This is all he does is resell items, specifically electronics. I've listened to this guy for years. So if you want to go by and check him out, I'll have a link to his YouTube and Instagram. All the information is going to be linked down below. Do you have any final thoughts of words of wisdom, anything you can leave our audience with to help them?
Yeah, I mean, once you start buying phones, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to buy the phones and electronics from you. Mostly iPhones and Samsungs right now for sure. Like we're buying directly from a lot of resellers now. So me and Aaron Goldstein. So feel free to reach out. We can give you a price sheet. That way you can figure out exactly what we are paying. That way you can figure out what to offer people. So if you're looking to work directly with us, feel free to reach out and we'll buy your phones.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like this structure where he has a buyer's sheet or an offer sheet. So that way you kind of already know, hey, I know I can buy this phone, let's say for, $50, $100, and I know tomorrow I can flip it and resell it for $200. And that's why I like this thing, because you don't need up a lot of space. It's not like you have pallets of merchandise in your garage somewhere. The items are small. You can flip it and get your money back the very next day, tomorrow, if you need to, and you can take that capital and reinvest it to buy in more inventory. So, hey, man, I appreciate you jumping on and taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, but you got to promise to come back on one day again and spread some knowledge with us about how this phone flipping business is going. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Go follow our guest. All the links are going to be down below for YouTube and Instagram. He has an ebook that's $5. You can't beat $5. So go check out his course. He also has plenty of free videos on his YouTube channel. And go follow our guest. All the links are going to be down below. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, Chris, to jump on and talk to us about this resale business. And I'm excited for you and your future, and I'm excited for our audience to hopefully we can help them get started with their resale business as well. And I want to thank everybody in the audience for watching our content, and we will catch you guys in the next video. I'll try to do better next time. I'll catch you guys later. You guys have a great day. Bye, guys.
Bye.